Okay, now we're going to look at some of the specific organisms that are in our subphylum Vertebrata. And we're going to start out with fish, and we describe fish as any non-tetrapod chordate. It's going to have gills throughout its life, and its limbs are in the shape of fin. Now, a typical fish is ectothermic, which is the term we used to use the term cold-blooded. They are streamlined, they have gills or some other breathing organ to help it get breathe, and it's got paired fins, jaws, the skin's covered with scales, and most of them lay eggs, and these eggs can be fertilized internally or externally. Now, we're in the kingdom Animalia, phylum Chordata, subphylum Vertebrata. And we're going to look at the infraphylum Agnatha, which is our jawless fish, and the gnathostomes, the jawed vertebrates. And this includes the class Placodermi, which are now all extinct, Chondrichthyes, which are fish that have cartilage skeletons, and the superclass Osteichthyes, which have bony skeletons. Now, if we look at Agnatha, our jawless fish, we think of hagfish, and these are marine craniates. They're the only animals which have a skull, but they don't have a vertebral column. They're really disgusting because they have this slime producing capabilities, and their slime is really disgusting, and it's in copious amounts. Sometimes they're called slime eels, although they're not eels at all. They are found in any depth of water, and they lie buried in the fine sands or silt when they're not eating. They'll eat anything, living or dead. They're usually the first ones to find the dead animals. They're parasitic on live fish. They attach themselves to the side of the fish and then eat their way through. They are common throughout Europe. They are hermaphrodites, and they lay numerous large eggs that are in a hard case. They are considered a threat to commercial fish stocks of the North Sea because if the fish are not killed outright by attacks of hagfish, they will get infections because of the large wounds that the hagfish leave. And they're eel-like, and they're pink. Their mouth is a slit, and it's surrounded by short, fleshy barbels. They have a fleshy fin that runs from the vent to the rear portion of their back, and a row of pores runs along the sides, both sides from their head to their tail. And that glutinous slime covers their whole body, and they can slough off copious amounts when handled. Those are the hagfish eggs. This is one that's found in New Zealand. It can tie itself in knots and secrete just a bucket load of that thick mucus in just a few seconds. This is how they feed, by attaching themselves to the wall of the animal. A lamprey is another jawless fish. It is toothed, and it has a funnel-like sucking mouth, and they suck the blood of the species that they attach to. And that's that gruesome looking mouth they have with the teeth. They begin life as burrowing freshwater larvae, and at that stage they're toothless, and they have rudimentary eyes, and they feed on microorganisms, and they can live like this 5 to 7 years. And then they go through a metamorphosis where they have a radical rearrangement of their internal organs, and their eyes develop, and they become more efficient swimming parasites, and they move out to sea. And the adult will attach its mouth to a fish, and it secretes an anticoagulant so that it can feed on their blood and tissues. And that phase usually lasts about 18 months. Sometimes they get landlocked and they have to stay in fresh water, and they don't get as big. But to reproduce, they return to fresh water and build a nest and spawn, and then they die. And from the time that they stop feeding to spawning, that can last up to 18 months.